to Indian Hill. I'm the athletic director, Brian Phelps, and I love this night where we bring our alums back, we recognize Hall of Famers, we see faces from the past, we learn about new people from our community. So thank you for being here and thank you for supporting your friends here for the Alumni Hall of Fame night. A big thank you to our boosters and our booster president, Megan Cole, Brian Shaw, who is truly our leader for the Hall of Fame and does a tremendous job putting this all together. I just want to point out a few things before we get started. Many of you, as you go to the game tonight, will sneak through the back, but please take a look at the athletic hallway. This is one of our many attempts to connect our alumni and our families back to the school. I think about the picture collage of current teams and photos of individual players and the past as well. So if you have pictures of teams and players and events, please submit those to the athletic department. The alumni suite is for our Hall of Famers tonight and their families. Please visit that area. That is lined with college jerseys from our alums. If you have a college jersey that you would like to turn in, we will get it framed and we will display that for you. And we have an interactive TV screen that holds records and Hall of Fame and stats, and we can constantly look to upgrade that with new pictures. So again, if you're looking through that and you have a picture of someone that we do not have or an updated stat, please contact me. But without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Brian Shaw, the head of our Hall of Fame for Indian Hill. Brian Shaw. Okay, grab some food and drinks, and Brian Shaw will be up here in just a couple minutes, and we'll get started.
Okay, if you don't mind, sorry. Earlier, Brian Phelps tried to introduce me, and I was down there with our basketball team. Hey, Linda. Great night tonight, and this is always the case. I think, and I say it every year, the Hall of Fame keeps getting better because of the people that go into it. And tonight is no exception. Tonight we have Christy Freeze, class of 1976. Brandon Miller, the class of 2005. And Colin Shaw, the class of 2018. What's great is that you guys are all kind enough to clap for people that you don't know. So like, you know, the 2018 people are like, yeah, Christy. And the 1976 people are like, yeah, Colin. Tonight we hope to bridge the gap there and get everybody connected. And that's a big part of this. Connecting people that haven't been back is a big part of it. Obviously, honoring people that have excelled is a huge part of it, and that's really the focus. But the other thing is, when we go out there tonight, we have a game with Marymount. The girls are playing now, varsity girls, varsity boys doubleheader. It's a really cool thing. But when you guys are out there, it serves as an inspiration to our kids. And one of the things at Indian Hill that I think is always a challenge is trying to make it about something bigger than yourself. And so you guys help us do that. So thanks and welcome, particularly to the families, the people that have traveled in. I'd like to say a personal thanks to George Visconti, Zach Odell, Justin Tucker, and Chuck Sweat for coming in to see my son. And they're coming in from a couple of guys from New York and Chicago and Philadelphia. So really appreciate the effort. Couple of things. First, catered food. Michelle works with Trio and Embers, has been there for 25 years. She's fantastic, does a great job. So please visit her. She's come up with something extraordinary this year, and really excited about it. Would like to also thank Kevin Bowden and his 5-piece orchestra quintet. Appreciate that. There's nothing better than live music, I don't think, at a venue like this. And the Indian Hill Boosters is kind of unique in the sense that it supports athletics and the arts. And that's why we're here, is to mesh the two of them together. It's also the best place that we have on campus. It's just a beautiful space. Hope you guys enjoy it. Wanted to tell you that the coats, if you want, you can get your coats up in those seats up there. And we've got plenty of seats, so I know, you know, this can get a little long till 7 o'clock. If people get tired and you don't have a place to sit, that's also, if you go up to row G and above, you'll be able to see everything perfectly. So wanted you to know that. All right, we'd like to welcome the first introduction, and that'll come from Scott Rogers. Eric, if you're with us, Scott Rogers, we're going to talk about Scott first.
High school in 1972.
Talk about Scott.
Before that,
she's a baby.
Before that, I went to Catholic school, and if not for Title IX, I probably would have just been a professional dodgeball player, because that's what you did in Catholic school. And I didn't know there was any other sports, you know. But I was fortunate that I went to, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I went, you know, very sports-minded town. I went to a high school that had great opportunities, so that, you know, I was able to play field hockey, volleyball, basketball, run track. I did play a little softball. And so I think that for me was the start of that I could play these sports. And I actually got offered a scholarship, a $300 scholarship. I don't think you guys know this. $300 scholarship to go play field hockey and basketball at Ohio University.
Oh.
And I turned it down so that I could go to Ohio State, where I played field hockey there. But, again, we have to realize, and again, that nowadays they'd be $300. That's just, but again, that was like an honor, even though I turned it down at the time. But, the ability to have those experiences and then be coached, the coaches that I had in high school, female coaches that I had in high school, and the coach that I had at Ohio State, that's what spurred me on to then, okay, now, I can actually be a coach. And to have those opportunities, I think really started my career.
I think the school should be proud of that, that back in those days, 1972 to 1976, that Coach Freeze felt that she had a lot of opportunities and that it helped her. And she was nominated by Carol Wayman, her coach, and later the athletic director at Indian Hill High School. Unfortunately, Carol passed away a little over a year ago. And so we're missing her and thinking about her tonight. And just glad that she was able to do something to help you in this regard. But this is long overdue. To introduce Christy, Dr. Scott Rogers. Dr. Rogers is also a 1976 graduate of Indian Hill High School. He's Cincinnati's favorite dentist, which is really enough. But if that wasn't enough, Scott Rogers might be the best basketball player in the history of our school. We don't know, but he's certainly right there. Went on to Kenyon College, was a two-time All-American at Kenyon College, was drafted in the 7th round by the Indiana Pacers back in 1980. And after playing, decided to coach also, like Christy Freeze, and coached at Mount Notre Dame High School here for a little bit, and then went back to Mount Notre Dame High School. In all, Mount Notre Dame, between the time he started and the time he finished, won 8 Ohio State championships, which is just unbelievable. So here to introduce Christy Freeze, Dr. Scott Rogers.
Thank you, brother. Christy, if there was a portal, you'd add a few zeros to that 300. Let me tell you that right now. I had to switch glasses. When you get to my age, you have like glasses you wear in the car, glasses you read with, glasses you put your shoes on with. This is one of my favorite evenings. Indian Hill event. The induction tonight of 3 of the Indian Hill's finest former student athletes. I would like to thank, where's Brian Phelps? Wherever Brian is, our athletic director, for allowing this ceremony to grow into the premier event as it exists tonight. Brian is an athletic director who is always looking to improve every aspect of a student athlete's experience here at Indian Hill, and we are very fortunate to have him. Also, I want to obviously give a special shout out to Brian. Where'd you go, Brian Shaw? Where is he? The amount of time that gentleman spends helping Indian Hill, helping the athletic journey of a lot of young men. Colin, what a job they've done, he and Boo have done with Colin. He's, very deserving, as Brandon is going in with. This is a great night. The Hall of Fame committee, let's give them a hand, please. They put in an awful lot of time. And they consider this event a labor of love for their school and the community in which they live. Now onto the good stuff. With great pride, I want to introduce this classmate of mine, Christy Freeze, class of 76. Christy has dedicated her life to improving opportunities for women in athletics through her coaching and her playing. Central Michigan University has cemented Christy's legacy by naming their field hockey field Christy Freeze Field. In 2019, she was honored with that. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me back up maybe a couple years. Like 50. Thank you, Christy. As I mentioned, Christy graduated from Indian Hill in '76, and you can see every one of those young ladies right here are her teammates from that team in 1976, right here. In fact, I kind of had a crush on one of them. My wife, Karen, is here. And that group of young ladies was part of one of the best field hockey teams in Indian Hill history. The team led by Christy defeated the Madeira Zons for the first time in almost a decade in 1975. That Indian Hill team proclaimed themselves state champs. And deservedly so, I might add. Madeira was a juggernaut at that point in time, especially in field hockey. And we were blessed to have this class of girls. They were just incredible athletes, and Christy embodied all that. I remember that win over Madeira because it kind of ignited every athletic team here, not just a girls team, but every athletic team. And from that point on, there was no stopping the Braves. So, also, it was really, they were a little bit ahead of their time because I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, Christy, I think 6 or 7 went on to play Division I lacrosse. Field hockey, correct? And I think four of them followed you to Ohio State? 3? And then Suzanne, you were at Miami? Okay. Unbelievable. You have to remember, we tend to forget this, that at that time, high school sport for girls was their first opportunity to play competitive team sports in an organized fashion. Incredibly, in the early 70s, there were no youth sports for girls, 0. Carol Wayman, who Brian spoke about, longtime field hockey coach and athletic director here at IH, was well ahead of her time, or as I should say, time was well behind Carol. Carol, along with fellow Hall of Famer Cindy Crilly, had a tremendous effect on all the girls. Is Cindy here? Cindy Bridgeland at the time, Cindy Crilly, incredible athlete in her own right. The effect they had, obviously, the girls felt, and I know the inequality that they felt at that time lit a fire in all of them, but Christy in particular. You see, Christy was an elite athlete and a born leader. She captained every team she played on here at Indian Hill. Field hockey, basketball, volleyball, softball, and that notorious powder puff team. I remember vividly when you took down the seniors your junior year, and 4 of you scored touchdowns. 26-0. 3 of them had to be taken to the hospital. Love it. I'd love to serenade you with a bunch of stats on Christy, but guess what? There aren't any. There were none, and none were kept. It's crazy to even think about that. But there's one stat that counts, and that's winners, because she's a winner. And she parlayed her Defensive Player of the Year award that particular year, along with her athleticism, into an incredible offer that Brian spoke about from Ohio University. $300. Crazy. Christy instead took some of her teammates to Ohio State and went to OSU to become a Buckeye. She was going to play both field hockey and basketball, but her freshman year's success in field hockey as a starter caused her to shelve the basketball idea. From her first day at Ohio State, Christy made an immediate impact, starting all 4 years, culminating in her being named captain her senior year. Christy followed the coaching path immediately after graduation in 1980, taking a grad assistant's job at James Madison on their field hockey team. In 1986, she was named head coach at Central Michigan University, and the legacy began. A career spanning 33 years, 29 as a head coach, 4 years as an executive assistant athletic director, 3-time MAC Coach of the Year, multiple all-conference players, 144 players. This is a crazy number. 144 players received all academic honors by the NFHCA. Crazy. The academic integrity of Christy's program was highlighted by her 2012 team, which led all Division I athletic programs with a 3.61 GPA. That should definitely be applauded, everybody. That's what it's all about right there. Her influence on the game and her players has been exponential. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce my friend, classmate, and IH and CMU legend, Christy Freeze.
Thank you, Scott. It was interesting because they couldn't find me. I got this text. I know when it was because I had a knee replacement the day before Thanksgiving, so just about 7 weeks ago. And I got a text from a former assistant coach that worked for me and said, Brian Shaw and Scott Rogers are looking for you. And so I realized that because we all grew up in Ohio, that we all thought that the most northern border is Toledo, and there's no other state above that. But unfortunately, that's the state I live in the state of Michigan. But I was very excited to get the call, talk to both of Brian and Scott, because as soon as they were talking to me, I just smiled. I mean, the times that we had here in school were just amazing. And I'm so appreciative. I didn't even know anyone would come to this besides my family, who I'll talk about. But, you know, to be able to play and see these people again. One of the things that I did once I got the call from Brian was, because I'm a former coach, I went online and watched the video of last year's ceremony here because I wanted to see what it was about. And I noticed that whoever I was watching, he was talking about his teammates and all the connections they had after they graduated, and I'm like, oh, you know, we haven't seen each other in probably over 40 years, closer to 50, but I'm just so appreciative that you're here. We did have a great class of kids in that 1976. It was a great athletic class. I'm not even sure I would have tried out for field hockey if they weren't all going to the tryouts, and I just followed. So, you know, that's great. I think if you only understand the years that I was here in high school, 1972 to 1976, you only truly understand that if you're a girls and women's and sport historian. Because that's two things that came to mind when I knew that I was talking about my time here is, one, that's when Title IX started. Now, I hate to tell you this, but it's taken a lot of years for Title IX to get rolling, but that was one key thing. And the other one was Billie Jean King beating Bobby Riggs in tennis. That we got to watch that on TV and see a woman, an incredibly talented tennis player, and we got to see that on TV. So I think in today's world, you get to see that all the time. You know, you get to watch women's basketball on TV and soccer, and we didn't have that, but the effect that the athletic program here at Indian Hill had on us was just tremendous. And Cindy, I know, is here tonight, and Carol, those were two so influential people in my life because they showed me just true leadership and something that could be done. And when I left here, I thought I wanted to be a physical education instructor and high school field hockey and basketball coach.
Then I realized that I didn't want to coach high school. But that's okay. Again, I really appreciate this. It brought back some great memories. I also just want to thank my family that's here. And a couple things. My dad passed away in 2020, but he loved sports. And he loved himself some basketball. So, he wasn't that, field hockey he did not understand. But one of the things that he did between my sophomore and junior year here at Indian Hill is he went to the superintendent, because our games my sophomore year were at 3:30 in the afternoon for basketball, and he couldn't watch me play. So our junior and senior year, we played at 7 o'clock at night in the big gym. And so to be able to have my parents watch me play, my family watch me play, one of my younger brothers, Clint, was 6 and 7 at the time, watched me play, was really incredible. My mom's influence on me, my mom's still alive. She's up at Otterbein in Lebanon. She wanted to come tonight, and I told her, no, we couldn't bring you down here tonight. But, she's always trying to break out of Otterbein anyway. So, her influence on me was, she had 7 kids. And so her whole goal in life was to get us out of the house. So at 7 years old, I was on the swimming team. So I don't even think I could open my eyes underwater yet, but I was on the swimming team. So, really appreciate their support. My family's here tonight. I have a sister that lives in England, and she said she was trying to watch tonight, and I hope she is, Kathy. My sister Cindy's here. We all went to Indian Hill. I hate to tell you this, I'm really going to date myself. When we moved into Kenwood, 71 wasn't even open. We biked on 71 before they opened it up, but my sister Cindy's here tonight. My sister Carrie's here tonight. She was a year younger than I was. She was an athlete too, but she had to unfortunately live in my shadow for 3 of her 4 years of high school. My brother Kurt's here tonight. I really appreciate him. He's probably, I think, the best athlete of the family. It's just that he liked to play ice hockey, and they didn't have that sport there. And his wife Sheila and my niece Kara. And then my brother Clint's here tonight. His twin is in Boise, Idaho. Clint's wife Sue is an Indian Hill graduate, and my favorite Ohio nephew Avery's here. So, but I really appreciate this. This is such a nice honor. The effect that Indian Hill High School had on my growing up, and I really wasn't that good of a student in high school though. But growing up and just the effects that it had on what I did in my life is incredible, and I really want to thank the committee. I want to congratulate Brandon and Colin on this tonight, too, and thank you very much.
Christy, thanks for everything you've done for the school. And I know it's been a while since you've been back, but we're so excited to have you back and to hear that you haven't seen these folks for 40 years. It's about time, and we're glad to be part of bringing you back together. Christy, I'd like to recognize you at this time with this plaque in the Indian Hill Hall of Fame. Like I always say, when we add great people, the Indian Hill Hall of Fame is better for having you in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a certain pace with this because we know you guys like to talk to each other and visit and that kind of thing. So we're going to come back with Tim Birch to introduce Brandon Miller. But before we do, would like to say thank you. Thank you to Kirk Konecki, our superintendent of schools, for all the support. Brian Phelps, for all that you do for us here. Jeff D'Amadeo, former principal, what you have done to help us with this. Andy Gruber, our principal now. Really appreciate everything that you've done. Megan Cole with the Boosters Association, president of the Boosters, very supportive. So really appreciate everything that you guys do. Eric Simony, who does a terrific job putting this on. We're in his space. Amy Clark, who works with him. really can't say enough about how supportive they have been. Also like to thank the committee, the Hall of Fame committee. I'm the chairman, but I do not vote. I organize. And the good news is we have people that have a great understanding of Indian Hill. Coach Larry Eli wasn't with us in the meeting this year, but has been in years past. Terry Conti, who has been our trainer since the early 90s here at Indian Hills. She's seen everybody. She knows how good they are. And she knows how good they're not. And she knows who follows directions. Coach Hearn, Coach Schneider, you might have had them along the way over the years. Dr. Scott Rogers, his daughter Brooke Lattimore, who's here tonight. Steve Ennis, a Hall of Famer here at Indian Hill. We'll talk more about Steve in a little bit, and his wife, Kristen. Kristen did a terrific job to really open this up and bring the Hall of Fame back with Hillary Kremchek. Teddy Kremchek's here tonight with us, and Hillary really, it was a mission for her to bring this back and bring us together. So I'd like to thank them as well. So anyway, we're going to take a break and let you get back to it, and then we'll be up here with Coach Tim Birch to introduce one of his friends, Brandon Miller, in just a little bit. Cindy. promise we'll have more time. We'll have more time. We'll have more time to get together. Wanted to reconvene on this Hall of Fame thing. So appreciate you guys kind of jumping in and jumping out. We want this to be fun. We do have a couple of comments about Christy Freeze that some of her friends would like to make. They have some stories that might be a little different. Dr. Rogers had a perspective on this, and there may be another perspective. We'll go out and see what people have to say. Suzanne Raudebush, are you related to John Raudebush? Oh my gosh. Oh, well. So, do you have something to say you'd like to say about Christy Freeze?
Let's see. No. Hi, I'm Suzanne. I also played field hockey with Christy, and basketball and volleyball and about everything else that was available to us. I also graduated in 1976. I also taught here in 1980 and 81 with the great Cliff Hearn and Ken Schneider. I had the joy of playing against Christy in field hockey in college. She played Ohio State. They were good. I played at Miami. We were okay. We came second to them my senior year when we were playing them. I happened to be the captain of Miami's team, so every time we would play Ohio State, we knew what the outcome was going to be. Christy, we've had so much fun. We've gone to hockey camps together. These girls out here have gone to hockey camps, Sauk Valley. We're missing a couple of our teammates. One probably was a very big instigator of our antics. We went to basketball clinics together. We played everything together. Christy was just a little bit better than me. So when I heard that she was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, my brother John told me, I couldn't think of anyone more deserving than Christy. She embodies sportsmanship, coaching, team player, friend, everything. It's fun to think how long we've all known each other. And for the rest, almost half of our team from my senior year here, tells you a lot about Christy Freeze. So, Christy, I couldn't be more tickled for you. And I love seeing Christy when Central Michigan would come to play Miami. It was always Miami's alumni weekend. So I would make a trek over there to Miami so I could see Christy. Her coach, my coach and her are still friends to this day. So it's great. I go to get to see the family, the C family. It was always great to see them too. And Christy, I'm tickled pink for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else would like to talk about Christy? Would you? Okay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Christy's sister. I played field hockey for 4 years, and I graduated a year after she did. So I was involved in the awesome competition that we had and the victories that we had. I think so you went undefeated the year 76. Oh, 74. Okay. So, but it was an awesome program, and it was so wonderful to be involved at Indian Hill and to play sports here. And one little comment, I don't think she'll remember, but during the year that I played the same position she played. And so one year that she was a senior, I was a junior, I would play half the game. She got to play the whole game. But one year I had a good game, and so they took her out and let me play the whole game. One game. So, of course, if I don't remember, that's okay. So, but it's an honor to be here and to celebrate with these other gentlemen that are receiving this. And Indian Hill was just such a great experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to make special mention to, talked about the committee, two people that really, I think, have a unique perspective on that committee I mentioned earlier. Patty Dewey, who is a terrific Hall of Famer here at Indian Hill, and also Cindy Crilly, who is a Hall of Famer here and coached here. So really appreciate everything that you do. And that was a big part of tonight, really understanding the value. And to Dr. Rogers' point, there aren't a whole lot of records and a lot of stats for some things, but people that really understand the greatness. And Cindy, really appreciate that. Patty also really appreciate what you did there. All right, so I'd like to introduce the next person that's going to come out here, Coach Tim Birch. Tim Birch is just a great man. That's kind of where it starts from my perspective, and that ought to be enough, damn near where it ends. But Coach Birch was here at Indian Hill for quite a while. And did some great things while he was here. He was the all-time winningest coach at Indian Hill, and he had the highest winning percentage until that last senior class that came through. No, I'm kidding. Until, I mean, he's got right up there at almost more than 2/3 of his games won. Always played a tough schedule. Always, he had more games than anybody in our league against Division I teams, and won about 2/3 of those games too. Won the ECC with Anderson and Milford and West Claremont. Seemed to win that one every year. He likes scheduling them. I don't know. I don't understand that, but he's absolutely terrific. And he was our coach here for my son's 4 years, and I'm really thankful for the impact that he had on his life and the life of a lot of kids from that class of 2018 that I coached as youths and really care a lot about. So I'm glad you were there to do that. I'd like to introduce Tim Birch, and then we'll have a video about Brandon Miller to help Coach Birch introduce him. Eric, if we could play that video.
Hey Coach, it's Wyatt here. You really pushed me to be the best player I could be throughout my time there, and I want to thank you for all your help, and a huge congratulations to you. Take care, Coach.
Coach Miller, just wanted to congratulate you and really just say thank you for everything that you've done for me and other young men on the basketball court and really off the basketball court as well. So thank you, Coach Miller. We love you, brother.
Coach Brandon, just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done for me as a coach, and congrats on your induction into the Hall of Fame.
Hey guys, just wanted to share a little bit about what Coach Brandon means to me. Thank you, and again, you're so appreciated and loved, and you have made a huge difference in my life, so God bless.
Coach Miller, this is Mick Oakes. Just wanted to say congratulations on your induction into the Indian Hill Hall of Fame. I'm super excited and happy for you, and wish you nothing but the best.
Coach Miller, congratulations on such a high honor. Enjoy this time with your friends and family. Congrats.
Congrats, Coach Miller, on an awesome career at Indian Hill. You had a great influence on me as a player and as a young man. But most importantly, you poured into me as a young man. You invested in my life.
I'm not quite sure if I need to say anything after that. I want to thank Brian Shaw and the committee. This Hall of Fame is just amazing. I'm really enjoying this. I want to say something about Brian, though. Brian helped us after Colin had graduated in basketball, and every year we doubled his salary, and still waiting for a check. So if somebody could get on that, that'd be great. I am so honored, honestly, to be introducing Brandon Miller. My words would not express enough how I feel about him and his true character. Words I describe Brandon are, loyalty, role model, mentor, and a man of highest character. I was fortunate to watch Brandon play basketball and soccer his junior and senior year. And you got to tell you something about myself. I'm not a stat guy. I'm more of a character guy. So the first couple things is more or less stats. But Coach Prue and Coach Meese said the same thing. Great teammate, unselfish, team first, great athlete. More excited when his teammates did something than when he did it. Man of character. They all describe him the same way. As a soccer player, he was first team all CHL. He was all city, all district, and third team all state. Coach said he was one of the most versatile players he ever had, and he would play anywhere. And he did play everywhere, it sounded like. And what's neat about that is, everybody would want to do the, hit the goal or get the assist or be the guy that gets the name in the newspaper. But Brandon is just that kind of a teammate with his character, just to do whatever it is that needed to be done for the best of the team. As a basketball player, he was first team CHL as junior and senior, player of the year as a senior. Coach Prue was telling me that when it came time to vote for the player of the year, that basically everybody just knew it was Brandon Miller, and the voting was over. Unselfish, team first. But when it was time to step up in a game, I remember them always calling it's Miller time. So it was always great. He led a team to a 20-2 season, and I think that's remarkable. If Brandon would have played on a less talented team, because I think that team was extremely talented, I think his stats would be in the top 10 of every category at Indian Hill. But he was team first. After high school, Brandon walked on at UC. And, I asked him once, I said, why UC? And I think he could have played at Division II or III school, and honestly, been just a standout, had a ton of records, and just been really rewarded for that. I even thought he could play at a team like Butler or UC. I think he was that talented. But Brandon grew up a UC fan, and that's where he dreamed of playing. His dream was to play at UC and to be there. And you know what? What's wrong with just living out your dream? There was times that we'd run into the UC players, and they were, we'd see them at either a football game at Indian Hill or during the summer camps at basketball. And the respect they had for him, not only as a player, a teammate, and as a person, was just unbelievable. And it just showed every time they talked about him. If all there was his athletic accomplishments, that would be enough for the Hall of Fame selection. But there is so much more. One of the greatest things that I loved about being here at Indian Hill is the opportunity to have young guys come back. Teddy Krimchek actually coached with us. Who's the other one that coached with us? Colin Shaw coached with us during the COVID year. Guys would come back. And all these guys that you see here were there, and the guys up there would always come back and be around during the summertime. They would be around during, come in during games. And it was so great to see them because we'd always drag them into the locker room and they would talk. But Brandon, I had the privilege of coaching with for 12 years. Brandon gave back to Indian Hill as a coach, role model, mentor to so many young men. And about halfway through our 12 years together, Marymount needed a coach. And they were basically trying to get anybody on my staff to come over and coach for them. And Brandon could have left Indian Hill and went over to Marymount and become a head coach. But Brandon belonged to Indian Hill. His loyalty to Indian Hill, and that's where he wanted to be, and that's what he loved being. So he's the greatest example of an Indian Hill player I've ever seen. As a coach, you deal with so much with young men and their lives. Some basketball related, but more important things were life related. He was the perfect example of a role model to so many young men. Lives he touched as a role model and mentor is endless. But I will say that the last 2 years with Brandon, he got a little less focused on basketball. He met his soulmate, Katie. I don't even know where Katie is with the 2 kids, but met his soulmate, Katie. Now he's a family man, 2 beautiful girls, and he still is a man of character, a role model, and a mentor. I'm not going to talk as long as you did, Coach, sorry. Brandon, your stats and accomplishments will come and go. People will stop and read them, but in 50 years from now, nobody will remember. But the impact on all those young men's lives will last forever. We used to always tell our players, and when we talked to them, who do you represent? And it was yourselves, parents, past, present, and future teammates, your school, and your community. I can't think of a better man that represents all those things than Brandon Miller. I am very proud and honored to introduce the 2025 Hall of Fame inductee, Brandon Miller.
All right. I just have papers. Coach Birch had his famous legal pads that he carries everywhere, those notebooks. Like during the season, he would have at least 20 different ones. Wasn't sure what was in each, but he didn't know. That's what I'm saying. All right. So for those that don't know me, Brandon Miller, I went to Indian Hill schools for 14 years, so I one-upped all the 13-year club people. My parents sent me a year early, and then I went to pre-first, and then, met up with my age group. So, but now I know why having kids, daycare cost. I would do the same. I think Katie and I are gonna do the same thing, get her in a year early and have to pay a little less daycare. If you knew me in high school, I wore sweats 7 days out of 7. If you knew me in college, I wore sweats 7 days out of 7. They just got a little baggier, maybe with some Jordans. Wasn't really a good look for me, but here we are. I also didn't use product in my hair, so if it went like a week long without a haircut, I had like a mop top. But I had the baby face to go with it, I guess. I went to University of Cincinnati. I got a degree in finance. Now I sell wine. Not really using my tuition dollars towards finance, but I love what I do and love that I've got a well-represented wine people out here. I'm now married to the most incredible person ever. Katie's still up there. And she's got an incredible family too, so it's just a bonus. And we got 2 little girlies. We got Elizabeth and Mackenzie, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, and we live in Mason. So, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I really am, and that's gonna kind of be my theme on how I'm here. I'm gonna say luck or God or somewhere in between. Like I never thought I'd be here. I never aspired to be here. I was just a kid. I love sports. It's what you do. You do sports, video game. I want to play the sports video games. I want to watch sports on TV. I don't wake up and watch cartoons. I wake up and watch SportsCenter. I think the most watched VHSs in my house, and that's how you used to watch things. Not Disney movies. It was like 1990 wire-to-wire Cincinnati Reds video and 1993 Sports Illustrated Year in Sports tape. The Bulls won the championship that year. Spoiler alert. Same thing. When I played with my brother, my friends, we were pretending to do WCW wrestling or playing Kill the Man in the front yard or playing basketball in the driveway, home run derby, you name it. It's all sports. So now when I made it to coaching, and they started doing this Hall of Fame thing, I never thought I would ever be here because in my opinion, I don't have the stats. You got Colin Shaw, like school's leading scorer, right? Like, absolutely get in here. But Tim Birch, or I'm gonna call him Coach Birch, said he was going to try to make it happen, and I said, please don't. Don't even try. We're good. I'm happy, and here we are. So thank you, Coach Birch. Thank you to the committee or the board or whoever voted or spoke for me. I really appreciate it. I'm truly honored. It hasn't hit me yet. Maybe one day it'll feel real. Maybe one day I'll feel worthy. But either way, incredible honor. So now when I was sitting down, trying to think of who to thank, I got real emotional because the list is incredibly long on just people that have supported me and the only reason I'm where I'm at right now. So first, I'm going to start with, I want to thank God, because through him, this is possible, right? And my journey started a little late, so if you knew me in college, that wasn't a man of faith or anything like that, but now it's very much a part of my life, and I'm just lucky to have found my way to him. So next, I want to thank my parents. Got my mom here, supported me in everything I did. I had zero influence on, or they zero influenced me on what sports to play or anything like that. It was just, you want to play, just the one rule, we don't quit. And I remember like first time playing like kind of high level club soccer. We left a little late from the hotel, ran into traffic, got there late, so I didn't start, barely played, and I'm like, for the whole tournament, and I was like, I mean, I don't want to waste my time. And my mom's like, well, you're not quitting. And so ended up being great. It was an incredible experience, and I played with that club for 3 years, so it was awesome. But Mom specifically, you were always there, always, always. I can think of 2 instances when you weren't. Maybe it was more than that, but one, you had surgery. Feel like we could have gotten you there in a wheelchair. A little more effort next time, but, and then I think the other was for nationals. It was Florida, middle of the week, you know, kind of hard to make that work. And I'll never forget you telling me to play tough before every game. And then even in college, it was like a text or a call. But the important thing is you taught me that the most important thing I can do for my family is be there. So I'm gonna take that with me and do my best. There we go. Sure. So I'm gonna just throw out some thank yous. Coach Rooks, he's not here. He was my 5th and 6th grade basketball coach. Made us call him sir. Very hard on us. Made us bring a dime to practice every day, and we had to bring it, put it in the little toilet piggy bank and flush it down. Just teaching us responsibility, right? He would count every free throw in practice, and then at the end, the winner, whoever had the best free throw percentage in practice, got paid like 80% of it. Second place got 20%. So I don't know, just little things like that just drilled into me, really helped. Coach Moss, he's right there. He was my coach for 4 years, twice as a JV head coach, 2 years as a varsity assistant. I was trying to count the hours on how long we spent just shooting in the gym after practice, or me losing to you in horse. I feel like I lost every time we played horse. I just wasn't creative. I couldn't get like that behind the backboard, like floater figured out. So, but even when you became the head coach here, like we'd always stay in touch. You'd invite me back. I'd come play open gym and still lose to you and Sam Hendricks. And I was like, I'm in college. I go to UC. Like, why am I losing, you know? But thank you for always being there and having somebody to go to. I really appreciate it. Coach Meese, I just saw you. Specifically you and Coach Vocal, may you rest in peace. They were my varsity coaches for 3 years. And I mean, you want to talk culture, like they built that foundation of culture better than anyone. And if you go watch a boys soccer game who just won state, I mean, they're still saying, want work, win. Like you go to a game, listen to it in the beginning, and they'll say a chant that says that. And I think the girls did it for a while. I don't know if they still do, but just building culture. And what I learned from you is your willingness to listen or get our opinion. So like when I went to go coach, I wanted to get the players' opinion and hear what they had to say, because they're the ones out there, right? And I remember it was like, hey, our club team's playing a back four, like I think we should play that. And he's like, okay, sounds great. And then I think the next year my club team played with a stopper, and he's like, okay, we'll do that. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So, but just thank you for always listening. Really appreciate it. There's Coach Astley. Okay, and this is another great example of why I'm so lucky. So, he was an assistant coach at Cincinnati. His friend coached at CCD, and he was just here helping his friend scout Summit Country Day, who we were playing that night. And, you know, I just happened to have an okay game. I think I don't know the exact specifics. I think I had 26 points. I caught an oop for a dunk. I think I had 16 in the fourth quarter. So I had a pretty good night. I'll get you more specifics later. But like literally the next week, they were like, if you want to walk on, you got a spot. I'm like, okay, all right. And then after that, I mean, I sure was hoping for D1 offers or whatever, because that's what everyone puts in your head. But it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. Thanks to him, we're still in touch. He's at Clemson now. They're doing big things. Just two names, not here, Ryan Crone, Mike White, two individuals. Mike White was the assistant, or he was the student athletic trainer when I was at Cincinnati. And again, always just stayed after, shot around with me, helped me get better. He didn't have to do that, right? But it just helped me. Ryan Crone was our grad assistant, just stayed after, helped me. And then my sophomore year, I feel like I had the biggest leap in my ability. Or maybe we were 11 and 19 and they were desperate for players. But like I said, there's too many people to thank. I've got my grandma here who showed me what true unselfishness looks like. Got my Aunt Sheila, who's always there for me. Got my varsity coach, Prue. I saw you here. Felt like you taught me how a leader needs to lead by example and what that looks like. I still remember the one time I was like, I have a dentist appointment at like 2:30. I'll be here, I think, but if I'm running late, and he's like, you know what time practice is? I'm like, that would be a bad look if I'm rolling in at like 3:05. Want to thank Coach Cronin, who pushed me harder than I've ever been pushed and thought I could, through the paper ceiling or whatever the phrase is. Coach Frank Martin, who taught me that it's okay to be wrong as a coach. Like, it's okay to say, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong there. Coach Bob Huggins, who never coached me but agreed to let me come on. And I mean, I've got a huge list, and I know I'm probably taking forever, so just thank you. And then I got a couple final thank yous. Katie, specifically, just thank you for everything you do for me and our family. Nothing would be as it is if it weren't for you. I love our foundation and the fact that it's built on faith, family, and each other. And thank you for swiping right on Bumble that day around 6 years ago. And it was a pleasure connecting. To Alex Meacham, right here, bald-headed guy. Randomly joined his AU program in 2003. They needed guys. And he's like talking to me on the sideline. He's like, so you good? And I'm like, what kind of question is that? Like, I don't know. I like basketball. And then he's like, this guy's kind of a jerk. And it's really, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of shy normally. But he walked on to UC prior, and it just so happened like we grew close, right? We were close anyway, and then I told him UC was interested, and then he took me under his wing, and we had like daily goals, weekly goals, yearly goals, and just all things to help me like stay focused. He wasn't afraid to sit me down, call me out when I like kind of went astray, so to speak, which is what true friendship, true love looks like, right? People were willing to call you out on everything. And I was going to say, him knowing I'm shy would put me in the worst uncomfortable situations of all time. Here, I need you to talk in front of these kids. And I'm like, what? Why? And so it prepared me for this moment, or at least got me in the right direction. So thank you for everything. I'm sure that didn't do it justice. And then lastly, Coach Birch. I had 11 years that we coached together. I guess 12, I was wrong? Okay. But it started when I was a senior. He was the freshman coach. I mean, we didn't interact a ton. And then I showed up to one of the games when he was a head coach, and he just saw me on the sideline, him not being shy, and he's just like, hey, are you interested in helping? And I'm like, sure. And he called me in the spring, and 12 years later, here we are. And, you're an enormous part of my life now, your family, right? We had a lot of fun wins, fun seasons, which, highlights that come to my mind. Nick Heidel dropping 30 against Wyoming in the state tournament. We beat LaSalle, the huge comeback win against Woodward in the state tournament. Brad Lewis coming off the bench, hit a big game winner against Madeira, the win against Ross to go to Dayton. So much fun, so many memories, and that's not even that's not even the core memories, but those were just the really fun ones that make it all worth it. but I felt like we were the perfect combination together. We always had an open dialogue. We rarely agreed when we started, but somehow we got to the middle ground, and I felt like that's what always made us really good together. Just it's all out there. You were willing to listen again. But what I really learned from you is just how to be a true role model, a good man. I mean, it made me a better man. Like your expectation for our players were to be good men, like, and would help guide them to what that looked like. I also Googled what good role model is, just to see if there was any adjectives that like didn't fit you, and there isn't. Like integrity, respectful, good listener, positive, accountable, committed, humble. I mean, everything is there. I mean, you look at your former players that come back, everybody came back to play open gym, everybody comes back to talk to the team, everybody stays in touch, texts them. We went through a time where there was a parent blog, and stuff was said, because obviously being the outside looking in, you don't fully understand what's going on. But his former players stepped in and responded to those parents that are getting out of control and just like saying things that weren't true, and like stepped up where it's just like, I mean, it made me cry just like knowing how much these former guys love this man. And it's because of what he did and his role model and him holding them accountable. But thank you for showing me that. Thank you for everyone. I probably went long, but appreciate your time.
There's no better person in the Indian Hill Hall of Fame, Brandon, than you. Mrs. Miller, thank you for what you did to create this young man that was just terrific for our kids. My son was fortunate to be with him, Coach Birch, Coach Kremchek, Coach Lanker, young Adam Birch, the whole group, and couldn't be more thankful for that. Brandon, it's surely the case that the Indian Hill Athletic Hall of Fame is better with you in it, and congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, I've got a couple of them out there, Teddy Kremchek, Dave Moss, Bill Mees. I'm going to come to you guys. Coach Lanker, if you'd like to join. Start with Coach Mees and soccer.
Brandon, I don't have the profound words here tonight, but I can tell you that all your teammates, Jim Vocal, myself, we were so proud of you, and just what a special night. So deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and so honored that you mentioned my name in your talk tonight. So congratulations.
Shaking your head, you're nervous. Me too. Yeah, hey, congrats, Brendan. I've known you for a long time, and we have that picture of me as a kid down at a UC game, and it was after the game or before the game, and you're in your big UC sweats. And then we have a picture recreated of when we coached together at Indian Hill, and then we became really good friends just throughout that time. So congrats, well-deserved, and glad to be here to share it with you.
So I'm David Moss. I coached Brandon, like you said, when JV, so freshman, sophomore year, right? So this is 2001, 2002, right? So I was thinking about this, and I remember, like, I was pretty young and getting ready to get you ready for the season. I remember telling you, and you were 14. I was trying to do the math, okay? And you were 14. I remember sitting there saying, you got to guard, you got to do this, you got to do that. I feel like I really laid it out well. And then Coach Vickers was the head coach at the time. I said, man, I just went and told Brandon, this is what he's going to do. If he doesn't guard, he's not going to play. And Vickers looked at me and goes, that was stupid. He's going to play all the time. So I just sitting here thinking about you as a 14, 15-year-old and seeing where you've come in your life and all that, man. I'm very proud of you, and congratulations for this.
Coach Manny Lanker.
Well, Brandon, I've heard all these superlatives about you, and I have to say that I have to second all of them. It was a pleasure being associated with you in the coaching aspect, and it's something that I treasure and very proud of you.
All right, this third Indian Hill Hall of Famer. This is like when you leave the airport and the plane is late, and somehow you land on time. Colin Shaw and I scored a combined 1,659 points here at Indian Hill, and he's carrying me in that regard. But I'm going to carry him tonight. He might set another record here tonight. What's that, Colin? Wrap it up? Wrap it is what you're telling me to wrap it up? Okay, all right. Well, it brings a quick story. Colin's a 14-year-old freshman. The football team's gotten off to a good start, and he's starting as a safety. And the Inquirer runs an article about the football team, and I am reading it, and I see him mentioned in there, and Coach Arcuri was just terrific to him. Said he's the most competitive kid he coached in 25 years. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I took it up to his room, and he was at his desk, had his back to me looking out the window. And I said, hey, you're in the Cincinnati Inquirer. This is pretty cool. You're only like 3 weeks in high school. And he didn't turn around and look at me. He just said, Dad, I'm going to be in the paper a lot. Are we going to go through this every time? And that's not so much a statement of like being, he actually is a very humble person. But it's more, it just isn't his thing, so I'll carry him tonight. When we called him to tell him that the committee had told us, Athletic Director Phelps had been the first to tell me that Colin was in the Hall of Fame. I was outside. I don't stay in when they vote. And we called him, my wife Boo and I, and we said, congratulations, you're in the Hall of Fame. We weren't any more proud of him that day than we were the day before. We're proud of him because of his faith. We're proud of him because the things he reads, the things he thinks, the way he takes things at face value, his honesty, he's never been a pleaser. We just love him. And we're mostly happy that somebody else thought highly enough of him to put him in the Hall of Fame, and that's great. We're happy for him. That kind of reminds me of a story as well. So he's down with Queen City Prophets. He's going down to Avondale to play basketball with Ozzie Davis and the kids. And he's, I think, a 4th or 5th grader, and I go to his room to get him because we're supposed to leave. And I said, hey, you going to wear that? He's wearing an Indian Hill t-shirt. And you going to wear that down to Avondale for open gym? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, let me just tell you something. Different parts of the city, you show up in that Indian Hill t-shirt, and you're going to get somebody's best effort. And he looked at me and he said, that should be fun. Let's see how it goes. Which, it's just who he is. He's consistently thoughtful, but he's rarely a pleaser. He's there to find out what it is and what it isn't. No assumptions going into things. As a family, I wanted to tell you, just gratitude for the community and the people, and then I'll spend a little time talking about what he did, and then I think what's more interesting is how he did it and why he did it. First of all, for the community, first it starts with me, I back up. Colin is as fortunate as a kid could be with a nurturing and a loving mom. She spent a tremendous amount of time with him. Came to me when she was pregnant, said, I'd like to quit my job, and I just want to be a mom, full-time, all the time. And I said, I didn't see that coming when we were dating in Miami in 1987, but by the time it got to 1999, I was thankful for the things that I didn't know, and thank you. He's got the best and most supportive sister you can imagine. Brothers aren't always great to their sisters, but this sister was always great to her brother. And I love you, and I just can't tell you how much it means to see the two of you grow close. They're both going down to Atlanta to see the Buckeyes. Debbie Alf, OH. Christy Freeze, OH. Mick Davis, are you here? OH. All right. Kirk Konecki, the list goes on, right, of these Ohio State alums. So I'm excited about that. The school district, great coaches, teammates, friends. Coach Ennis, you gave these guys, class 2018, so many opportunities as youngsters. The amount of time this guy put in, whether it was football or baseball. I handled the basketball to some degree, but we did that as well. Just really enjoyed coaching with you and really appreciate everything you did to get these kids off on the right foot. Mr. Patrick Schontabler, I'm going to tell you something. I've told you before, and I couldn't be more sincere in it. If it isn't for Pat Tabler, Colin Shaw does not have the experiences that he has had as a young man. You guys back there at Swarthmore don't know him. We're probably not here tonight, and it takes nothing away from what Colin did and how hard he worked and how good he was. But Pat Tabler was a guy that I can remember like it was yesterday, fourth grade basketball, or third grade basketball youth night. Said, would you like to coach together? And Susan Tabler, actually, we owe more than Pat, because Susan was handling CCD and Colin's faith and his salvation. So it doesn't get any bigger than that. But anyway, Pat and I were able to coach the kids through 8th grade. Not only that, but Pat brought us to Bob Mahoney, who's here tonight. Thank you, Coach Mahoney. Can't imagine. Nobody makes basketball more fun than Bob Mahoney. But he took us to pretty much everybody. Mike Price, Ozzie Davis, Mike Sylvester, Pat Tabler. Really appreciate everything, what you've given. It's one thing to do something nice for somebody, but it's another thing to do something great for their kid. And really appreciate that. Coach Eli, I've never seen until you and Colin two twins that could be 52 years apart. It's an amazing thing. I think a young Larry Eli and a young Colin Shaw would have gotten along tremendously. And I just, the cookies that you send to Philadelphia to this day for him, and just the way that you influenced him, and you're just absolutely terrific. I mentioned Coach Arcuri. The teammates from high school, Nick Idle, for taking him under your wing and what you did as a guy that's 2 years older than him. Mick Davis and Marco, who are here, who were with him pretty much the entire time, all sports, every season, all the time. Love you guys like sons. To the Swarthmore College teammates that came out, I mentioned them earlier, guys, that is unbelievable that you would make the effort in January to be here for my son, and I love you guys for that. Coach Kozmowski at Swarthmore College, Pat put it best when it was Senior Dad's grill out day, and he said, Swarthmore, what the bleep is Swarthmore? When I told him he was going to college at Swarthmore to play basketball. It was not something any of us knew anything about, but Coach Kozmowski, he's a Davidson Hall of Famer. He's a terrific guy. Comes from a basketball family. His dad, Lynn, small world, from Bedford, Ohio, goes to Tennessee. Bob Mahoney gets hit by an orange in the head, falls on the floor. Lynn Kozmowski's charging hard at him and has pity on Bob. It was a tremendous day after he got into it with Bernie and Ernie. But phenomenal guy. And as good a coach as Kozmowski is, I think what I appreciate most as a dad is how he brings great young men together to be lifelong friends. It's a gift. Dozens of teammates and dozens of people, and really love every minute of it. Tennyson Holmes, whose mom, Linda, is here tonight. Tennyson's in Spain. We're missing him. So individual accomplishments, I have always, like when parents have said something to me, I've always said, well, he really likes playing the game, or he works really hard, or he has great teammates and coaches. And I mean every bit of that. But part of that was deflection to make his life better, because I really believe parents can help their kids in that way. But I'm going to suspend with that for just a couple of minutes, if I could. First, football, 4-year varsity starter, twice all Southwest Ohio. When a 14-year-old who weighs 155 pounds is starting in football, that's a tough-ass thing. That's as clearly as I can put it. That's a hard thing. As a matter of fact, his mom and I weren't crazy about it. We went first possession, New Richmond, right down there in Tomahawk Field, 5'10", 175-pound senior running back, 15-yard collision at the goal line. Colin got him on the ground. We couldn't care less about that. The kid went in motion on the next play. Him being a safety, he had that assignment. He went with the kid. And we thought, thank God, probably not concussed, gonna live. Everything's fine. So that was really unbelievable. Offense, defense, special teams, played 3 ways as a freshman. When he got a little older, had a top 5 receiving year. Teddy Kremchek also had one of those. He's here tonight, but 56 catches that year for over 900 yards, 13 touchdowns, just tremendous. So, as a 14-year-old, and then turning 15, you play a varsity football season, you go into basketball, and you're ready. And again, that's Pat Tabler. Scores 15 a game in his first team All-League as a freshman. But it's really about how he did it. Okay, so then he goes a couple of All-Ohio, 3 times All-City, that kind of stuff, scores a bunch of points. He wouldn't even want me to tell you that it's 1,659. He would say, and his teammates from Swarthmore would say that that's 2D. That's completely 2D. Nobody needs to know that. And George Visconti would probably say, I had like 2,200 in high school, so what's the big deal? But he did a good job. He's the only player at Indian Hill that's in the top 10 in scoring, rebounding, and assists. Never did this when he was here. I'm just taking a little indulgence right now. And he was a guard that rebounded. And he was a guy that could probably have defended, but his coaches kept him clean. Appreciate that. You can't win without possessions, and he was a guard that rebounded. That's what I love. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. How did he do it? It's really not about what he did. It's how he did it and why he did it. Football and basketball are just different. It's hard, and it's every kid wants to do it. It's the big crowds. It's all the things that happen. To be brutally honest about it, a 14-year-old football varsity starter going into basketball, not missing one practice, not missing one game, never in 4 years. Coming in late from football, breaking a fibula, broken leg, separated AC joint. When he was in college, a 1/2-inch muscle tear on both sides of the pelvic bone that had to be surgically reattached. Goes out the following year, and by the way, Jeff Wolf is here. His son, JJ, had the same surgery. JJ lives a 1/2 mile away from us. Had the same surgery at the same place in Philadelphia 3 weeks before Colin did. Kind of amazing. But the next year goes out and plays 981 minutes, which is a Swarthmore record that was previously held by Cam Wiley as they went to a Final Four as a senior. And he was part of a great team where he had to adjust roles. They had so many guys that were good. I was really proud of him, the way he adjusted and said, you know what, I'm not the same role that I was in high school. I got to do something different. Called me one night. They're driving to Baltimore to play Johns Hopkins. Says, I want you to know how much fun I'm having. I said, I know, you love the game. He said, no, it's not that. It doesn't matter tonight if I go 1 for 7 or 4 for 7. I'm not going to shoot the ball a lot, but it doesn't matter how well I do. We're going to win. And I know we're going to win, and I got on a bus knowing we're going to win. I said, son, that's like going to Moeller High School. That's kind of the way it feels there. You're a small part of something bigger. Never scored 30 points in a high school game. A lot of guys have scored 30 points. We've had 2 of them this year on this year's team that have scored 30 points in a game. Just came every single day. Every single day came in and gave you 17, 18, 19 points every game. Played with Nick Idle, who I mentioned was a terrific teammate. They're the only 2 guys that are both top 10 scorers. So it's not like Nick was shooting it every time. He had Colin. And it's not like Colin was shooting it every time. He had Nick. And it was terrific to watch those guys. And of course, neither one of them would have scored if it wasn't for Marco Fiore. And let's just all keep that in mind. Marco Fiore Jack Twyman once came up to me after a youth game and said, if I had Marco Fiore as my point guard, I would have scored 10,000 points for the Royals. I said, Jack, as I understand it, you scored about 25,000 points for the Royals. He said, Brian, I'm saying I would have scored another 10,000 points for the Royals. So that's the kind of player Marco was. He was a three-level scorer. He was a three-phase football player. Again, he came in as a 6-foot, 160-pound player, left a 6'2", 180-pound player. He wasn't a freak of nature. He was a force of nature, in my opinion. And then it comes to the why, and this is what's important. So a lot of faith, a lot of confidence that comes from his faith in Jesus Christ. And he had it on his shoes. He just lives it, reads the Bible. He's just not afraid of anything. Maybe except for coming up here and saying a few words and offending people. But winning. Nobody did it more. He had 71 wins, which is an all-time Indian Hill record. Nobody's played in games where they've won 71 games. And that's the most important thing to him. He had 105 basketball and football wins combined. And if you look in the history of Indian Hill sports, he was very fortunate to be on some good teams. That's also a record. Then he goes to Swarthmore, and he's with George Visconti, Julius Levin. Those three guys went through together, got 107 wins. And at D3 basketball, you get 25 games a year. So if you do the math on that, you can't lose many in the regular season, and you got to make up for it in the postseason to get to 107. School record, D3 record in the years that they were on that team for wins, and 2 Final Fours, the only 2 Final Fours in the school's history, and along with Christopher Newport, the only 2 teams to be there multiple times in that period of time. So, with that long-winded introduction, I give to you our family's all-time favorite player, our all-time favorite son. He's an only son, so I don't know. And I think I speak for Megan, our all-time favorite brother, and grandson, for his grandparents who were in Hudson, Ohio, digging out of 27 inches of snow and could not join us, unfortunately, in spite of the fact that they joined us all the time. Tuesday night games, Friday night games, Saturday games, 3.5 hours back and forth. Gettysburg College, Johns Hopkins, Swarthmore, didn't matter, always there. But our favorite, Colin Samuel Shaw.
All right, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out. Congrats to Brandon and Christy for being up here. Awesome honor. Obviously great athletes, represented the school well, and it's a well-deserving honor for those guys. I guess the bad thing about asking my father to introduce me is that he was liable to take my entire speech. So, this might be a little bit shorter than people were expecting. So also I want to mention that tonight I want to thank as many people as possible. Obviously this list that I have tonight is not exhaustive, and those that are on the list obviously have contributed and made an impact way more than I could ever say in a short speech like this. So I want everyone to know that. I want to start with my family. My mom is over here. Tom and Marcia have made the trip out, which is awesome, and they surprised me a little bit, which is fantastic. My mom and my sister, they were at every single game that I was ever playing here. And I'm sure that my sister had plenty of times when she did not want to be there. She did not want to make a trip out to Taylor on a Tuesday night to watch us win by 40, which happened quite often. But aside from coming out to the games, they were just so supportive on and off the court of me, and I wouldn't be here without them. Obviously, my father, my dad, who is up here, and you guys have heard plenty of which is great. He does a great job with this event, obviously, and you know, the number of people here right now is really a tribute to him and the work that he's put in. But he coached me any sport, you name it, for as long as he possibly could until they told him that he wasn't allowed to anymore. And now he's back coaching, but really wouldn't be here without him. Again, on and off the court, on and off the field. Obviously just an incredible influence for me. I want to go to my high school coaches. Let's start on the basketball side. Coach Birch, Coach Teddy, Coach Adam Birch is here somewhere. There he is. Coach Adam Birch, Coach Lanker, and then obviously Hall of Famer, Coach Brandon Miller. Yeah, Coach Lanker, he's the man. He's the man. And on the football side, obviously my dad has mentioned many of these names, but it's worth mentioning these guys again because they've been so tremendous. Coach Arcuri, Coach Walker, Hall of Famer, Coach Walton, Coach Eli, and everyone else. Coach Schneider is also in the building here. I don't know where he is right now. Those guys in my 4 years here made this thing, made it go, right? We wouldn't be, most people aren't up here if they don't win a lot of games. They aren't in a structured environment, right? We had the best culture that I could possibly ask for in a high school, and that's a tribute to those guys. Some other coaches that are here that weren't Indian Hill High School coaches, but you know, coached me when I was in grade school, coached me in the summers. We've got Coach Pat Tabler here, who I haven't gotten to talk with yet. I'm excited for that. Coach Bob Mahoney. We got Alex Meacham here, and probably some others. But you know, I was very grateful and very blessed to have an opportunity outside of Indian Hill High School to learn how to compete and to learn how to grow and become a man. And those guys were instrumental in that way. And lastly, my teammates, even the Swarthmore guys, although you know, those guys came later, so this night is not about them at all. And if you see those guys in the hallway later, steer clear. You know, obviously I can't mention all of them by name. I do want to mention Marco because he, as my dad mentioned, he took some of those assignments, defensive assignments, off my plate. I wasn't always that happy about it, but he probably did a better job than I could have. You know, I think about the times that I competed with those guys, but aside from the competition moments, the opportunity to have the bus rides, have the locker rooms, have the meals, that was what it's all about, and that's what made this worthwhile. You know, I'm thankful to the committee. I'm not sure that they got it right in putting me up here, but they certainly got it right with Brandon and Christy. We know that those guys are a great representation of the Hall of Fame and this high school, so I appreciate it. You know, my time here was fantastic. It's sort of prepared me for what I've done and what I'm about to do, and I couldn't ask for a better situation, a better environment, and that's a tribute to everybody here. So thank you guys. Have a good night.
Colin Shaw, your dad is a real handsome guy, and you're very fortunate. Truly, I can say this about you as well. The Indian Hill Athletic Hall of Fame is better for having you in it. Colin Shaw, congratulations. Marco Fiore, you're number one on this list here. I feel like Jerry Springer. Do you have anything you'd like to tell Colin for the first time, Marco?
Absolutely, yeah. My name was brought up twice, so I felt like I had to say something. But Colin, it was obviously a privilege to play with you. Basketball, football, baseball, since first grade, and then obviously we played together at St. Gertrude with Mick, of course, and I don't know. I just think everybody has that teammate that you just know where they are at all times. You know, you build that chemistry. It's just ingrained. And Coach Birch, you'll love this one, but I mean, Colin and I were like brothers, you know, and we loved each other, and also we butted heads. And he literally put my older brother Mateo as like the defender. Anytime Colin and I would get in like little arguments or something like that, he'd be like, Mateo, go, 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 go. But I mean, that just shows how, you know, how much we love each other and how much like of a brotherly bond that we had. And we weren't afraid of confronting, you know, one another. We weren't afraid of telling each other, you know, what needs to happen or what doesn't need to happen or what we need to tell the team. And also I want to thank you for making me a better player as well, right? And, you know, Colin had all the effort in the world. And at times, sadly, I did not. But there were times where Colin, you know, kicked me in the butt. And he was like, hey, let's get it going. Like, let's do something right for our guys. And so I appreciate you, Colin. And also I appreciate the Shaws. I basically lived at you guys' house for a little bit. And yeah, it's just literally in the Ennises as well. But I just want to thank you guys for always being in my life. And Colin, thank you for being an amazing teammate and really making playing point guard so damn easy. I mean, it was not that hard when he was on my team. So appreciate it, brother. Love you.
Love you, Marco. Marco said something that any basketball coach would find ridiculous. He made it easy to always know where he was on the floor. There aren't many guys that knew where people were like Marco Fiore, and we're really thankful for you as a part of the family. Mick Oakes.
Alrighty. Yeah, I get to follow up Marco and a great speech by Colin, so just reciprocate what Marco's saying. Colin, we had some fun memories, man, from Gertie basketball with Coach Tabler, Coach Mahoney, some Eastside Braves baseball. We've been missing out on that. And I think somehow we assembled the greatest middle school football team to ever take the field under Coach Eli, Coach Schneider, and Coach Hearn over there. So no, nobody more deserving, Colin. You were someone that maybe not at all times had the most vocal leadership skills, but you were someone that everyone looked up to, and your dedication, your hard working, you were the true encompassment of what a leader is and what a competitor is. So very excited, very happy for you, and very well deserving.
Pat Tabler, he's a little shy. He's not used to a microphone. Did it for about 34 years with the Toronto Blue Jays, Cleveland Indians. You remember Colin Shaw? Do you still remember him?
Who? I'll tell you what, Colin. I am not shy, sorry. I coached you for like 5 or 6 years, and that's the first time I heard your voice. Literally, this guy never talked, but I'll tell you what, I could always count on him. I never had to worry about Colin in practice, in the games, showing up, playing hard, do whatever you could do to make yourself better and make the guys around you better. So thank you very much. This is such a well-deserved honor. To do what you did in high school at this level, at this school, very impressive, very impressive. All-time leading scorer. Football, I know how it is being a little guy playing football on the varsity. That takes a lot of guts, and you've always had that. So thank you for being in my life, and thank you for sharing everything. Your family, we love your family. Thank you for everything you've done for us, the coaches. You're the best. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. Bob, do you have any serious thoughts?
My speech was about 20 minutes. Now it's going to be about 30 seconds. It's because of time, but I just want to, I coach with Pat and with Brian because their kids couldn't coach at St. Gertrude. And Colin was just a wonderful kid. And as Pat said, he never said S-H-I-T. He never talked, I tell you. And I got a couple stories about that. I was going to bring Mick and Marco up, but I'm not going to because of time. But we had great success. We won city championship. I got to be the head coach because I didn't have a kid on the team. And one last story about about Colin. We're playing at Elder City Championship. That's a competitive thing in grade school. And all of a sudden, before the game, I did a lot of jokes, clean jokes. Kids did jokes. I go to the team before we walk out there, and I say, okay, Colin, if you don't tell a joke, you don't start. Two things happened. He didn't tell a joke, but he did start. That's how good he was. That's the kind of player he was. Just a great human being. And I'll tell you, three things you should be lucky for. Your sister, wonderful person. Your parents are unbelievable. You got great parents. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you, Bob. Coach Tim Birch.
Well, I had the privilege of coaching Colin for all 4 years. He started every single game. And a couple stories I remember. One, Marco brought up one, but about him and Colin get into it. I remember one time Colin was throwing it in a game. The game was tight. And Colin's yelling at Marco, and then Marco's yelling right back at him. And that's how they motivated themselves. Colin's the hardest worker I've ever had to coach. I remember being in the gym with him on Saturdays and Sundays and during the off season, and we'd go about an hour and a half of him just pure shooting and doing drills. And I remember about 45 minutes in, I'd go, Colin, you want to take a break to get a drink? And he'd go, no, I'm fine. I go, well, the old guy has to get a break. All right, so I was going to get a drink. The other thing I remember about Colin was in 8th grade, he'd come to our games, and we're at Wyoming. We're the underdogs, and we're playing Wyoming, and him and his dad comes to most of the games. And we ended up winning that game in overtime by 3. And I walk out, and there's Colin standing there, and Colin of many words, you know. I asked Colin, I said, Colin, you going to be ready for this next year? And he looks at you and goes, yes. And that's it. But from that moment on, I knew he would be. And I am so proud of this young man, how hard he worked, what he did, and what he accomplished. I think if they would have called more fouls like they should have against him, he would have probably had 2,000 points. But I am so proud of him, and it's well-deserved.
Well, thanks, everybody. We have a game at 7:30. If you care to go to the game, we have a reserved section for everybody. If you go through this hall, where the name tags were, if you go out into the hallway and take a right, there are signs to help you. We have a assigned seating area where it's just for us, and you don't have to walk past anybody. It's in the corner that's closest to us. Thanks very much. Congratulations to the 3 new Hall of Famers and your family and friends, and thank you all for coming.
Well, at halftime, the Braves are going to honor 3 outstanding former student athletes. Bill Cunningham from WLW Radio is going to be the master of ceremonies as he introduces all 3 of them. Christy Freeze, 1976 graduate of Indian Hill, with an incredible amount of accolades, and Bill will mention a lot of them. Brandon Miller, a 2005 Indian Hill grad, a phenomenal basketball player, went on to play at UC. And Colin Shaw, the all-time leading scorer at Indian Hill, a 2018 graduate. 3 outstanding people that have honored this school and this community over the years. So, Bill, take it away.
Monday night He played 60 games for the University of Cincinnati on the basketball team, and coached basketball here at Indian Hill. Is in the distribution business right now. Please welcome Brandon Miller into the 2025 Indian Hill Hall of Fame. Last but not least is a man known as the talkative Breezy. Of all the boys that have ever played basketball in Indian Hill, that man has scored more points than anyone in the history of Indian Hill High School, with 1,659 points. All Ohio basketball, all Southwest Ohio football, all-time boys basketball record holder. Played basketball at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania. School record 107 wins at Swarthmore, and they had 2 D3 Final Fours. He coached basketball here at Indian Hill. Now he's in the insurance business. Please welcome Colin Shaw into the 2025 Indian Hill Hall of Fame. And so this is a call to all the athletes at Indian Hill